can't speak for you. I would like to, but I can't. But we're not really fulfilled as Canadians, complete, I'm getting emotional here, as Canadians, unless we possess a George Stroumboulopoulos bobblehead. Now, I know George fairly well. He's actually a nice guy. But did we really need a bobblehead made with public money? I need to ask Ezra Levant. Ezra, now this is the tip of the ice cube, as it were. Look at all these things. 500 George drawstring bags, 175 retro CBC mobile reporting bags. What the hell is that? How much money was spent by the CBC? And these things were given away generally.
Well, that's the thing. And given away to their own staff as a way of saying, come on, please like us more. You work here. We pay you. We're the official state broadcaster. But will you like us more if we give you free stuff? Listen, I have no problem with companies buying swag, as it's sometimes called, giveaways. I mean, a pen with, the George Stroumboulopoulos show on a pen, or a fridge magnet. I mean, we live in a mass media advertising society. But the fact that the state broadcaster does this, it's odd. First of all, you raised the right question about spending our tax dollars. But look, the CBC will be there whether or not anyone watches it, actually. That's the whole thing about a state broadcaster that's immune to the vicissitudes of the market. Why are they advertising? To steal viewers away from private sector competitors? This is the problem you get into when you have a government-funded competitor against private sector competitors. Is it supposed to compete and fight hard against its corporate rivals in the private sector, or is it supposed to be sort of like a government bureaucracy? The CBC, to their defense, is in a pickle because they're neither, fish nor fowl.
As opposed to CNN, who won't be around if the numbers aren't there, and now they have George on with some of the lowest numbers in their history. I wonder if he has a future. But I don't want to attack him personally, because he is quite a nice guy. But he's given every quality guest who comes through town and still manages to avoid any question that might be provocative or interesting.
Well, that's precisely why his show gets the guests, because you're not going to be asked a tough question. I mean, but again, I'm not picking on the show. If people like it, that's great. I just don't think that in this economy, we're out of the recession, but I wouldn't say this economy is roaring. And I think there's enough questions about, do we need to take $500,000 from taxpayers and say to taxpayers, this is more important than anything you thought you had to do with this money. Whatever you want to do with this money, you want to save it, you want to spend it on yourself, you want to buy your kids something? No, because we have something more important for your money. We're going to buy bobbleheads for George Stroumboulopoulos' fame. Listen, if a company wants to do that, let them answer to the shareholders. But this tells me that when the CBC whines about its budget being too lean, it ain't too. If you can splash around $500,000 for swag like this to celebrate yourself. This isn't even for sale. This isn't even a moneymaker. Sell the stuff. Make some money. No.
Well, that's the point. We have to emphasize that, because if they were producing this, as the BBC does, to then market and make a lot of money, BBC Marketing is huge internationally. But the CBC can't sell much of their stuff internationally. They're not going to get any market for it, so they're giving it away. Last year, 2012, $135,000. $135,000 that did not in any way improve CBC broadcasting. That money could have been put into our programming, given back to the taxpayer perhaps, go to Justin Trudeau to buy a few more speeches. I don't know, but not on this.
Well, and that's the thing. Listen, how Global TV or CTV run their affairs is of no interest to me, because I'm not a shareholder in those companies. I am forced by law to be a de facto shareholder in the CBC, except for I don't have one thing that other shareholders do. I don't have the right to vote. I don't have the right to sell. And so I'm compelled to be a shareholder, and every year to bail out the CBC to the tune of $1.1 billion. It really is corporate welfare. Every year they don't do. And here's the thing, you listen to Hubert Lacroix, the CEO, the president of the CBC, and he talks and acts and expenses like he's some corporate bigwig rubbing shoulders with all the other corporate bosses in Canada. No, because if he fails, which he does every year, he'll just get another bailout. What gets me about Crown Corporation bosses who want to be remunerated like a private sector guy is they don't have any of the risk. They don't have to meet their targets. They don't have to turn a profit in tough times. In tough times, when the rest of this country was in recession, when unemployment was higher, and when taxes and deficits were staggering, he didn't have actually the tough job of being an entrepreneur. He was basically running a public utility.
This isn't on the list, and my producer is going to have a fit that I'm even mentioning this, because there won't be any video to use. But just briefly, Bob Ray The end of an era? Please, the end of an era. Bob has been, they like to call him a public servant. He has certainly been, he's lived off the public purse for a long time. I don't think he's a bad man. I think he's a man of a certain integrity. He changed parties. Okay, some people do that. But has he been a good or bad thing for this country?
Well, listen, I mean, if you believe in the socialist ideal, then he's been great for this country. If you believe in more taxes, more power for unions, bigger government, he's been great. I take the opposite point of view, so I think he's been a deleterious force. And as far as his winsome personality, that has been a weapon that he has used to get his case through that maybe angry Thomas Mulcair has not been able to. But make no mistake about it, Bob Rae's not retiring. He's just switching to another tax-paid job that pays more. In January, Bob Rae announced what his new venture was. He's going to represent Ontario Indian chiefs, who, by the way, get their money from the federal government, to sue the government of Ontario and mining companies to get a bigger cut. He wants to introduce the concept of an Aboriginal mining royalty. Bob Rae is not done sucking at the taxpayers' teat. He's just doing it through the Indian bands, suing the government of Ontario and mining companies. He's not done being a big government Bob.
So he's Ontario NDP Premier, a difficult time, but he did a dreadful job. He then changed his party because he suddenly finds out that the NDP is quite anti-Israel, bordering on anti-Semitic. Oh, wow, yeah. you were quick. Goes to the Liberal Party, fails miserably there, and then goes... And rumour has it he's going to give his riding, or try to give his riding, to his buddy George Smitherman, who can now make a mess of the federal situation just as he did at the provincial.
Now, of course, we can't just give our ridings to someone else. He may pave the way in the Liberal Party, but the voters of Toronto Centre will quite likely vote for George Smitherman.
He can give it, though. You know, I mean, yeah. If Bob wants it, it's likely to happen. Smitherman will probably win that riding too. In fact, I can't see him losing it.
Well, that's right. I mean, it depends who the NDP furnishes. Of course, Olivia Chow, I think it's pretty much a certainty she's going to leave Ottawa to go and run for mayor against Rob Ford. A lot of things are cooking in Toronto, but look, it is a left-wing city. Right now there is a conservative mayor, but it's amazing to watch the establishment tear him down everywhere, some legitimate, some illegitimate. They want Olivia Chow as mayor. They want to give George Smitherman the soft landing. And Bob Rae, he's not done. He's just going where the big money is.
Okay. By the way, neighbour down the road runs a charity, Dying Children. 50 grand for a speech?
You know what? I try and give speeches to make $1 or $2. You know,
charity is free. I know you do.
But to go, but for a public servant, Justin Trudeau, who gets paid $157,000 a year by the government, who was born a millionaire, to go to a charity like Children of Hope, that's an orphan's charity.
I know.
To take 10 grand, 20 grand from an orphanage.
Yeah. He's a Trudeau. You've got to forgive him. Thank you very much indeed.
Hey, nice to see you.